Over in Scotland at Sancta Familia Media on X, they shared this video of lots of young people getting infected with a disease in Scotland. It's quite horrific, guys, what you're going to see here. So brace yourselves, because you're going to see something very shocking in this video. Let me just play this for you. Back in 2023, the Pope, justifying his restrictions to the Holy Mass of the ages, called it a nostalgic disease, which is why priests needed to request permission from the Vatican if they were ordained after a certain date in 2021 to be able to say that Mass. And, we had this synodal discussion in the church. We were very rigid in enforcing some guidelines, and yet we had a synodal discussion in the church. Now, as somebody looking at this, and again, people say, oh, you're very rigid, you're always focusing on traditional Latin Mass, you're always focusing on certain aspects, and if the new Mass can be said, well, yada, 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 you're against the Pope, against his reforms. I'm just highlighting for the next Pope to understand, we need a Holy Father that's going to unite the church, to strengthen the church. Of course, certain groups have their flaws. Certain groups tend to focus on one aspect of our spirituality in detriment to other aspects of our spirituality. This is a problem in the church, that sometimes we can be so focused on the Mass, we forget, hold on a second. The holy sacrifice of the Mass is to strengthen our spiritual life, to strengthen the mission of the church, to bring us to union with God, but also to go out and to give this good news, this gospel to the world. It's not just an inward-facing spirituality, it's a world-facing spirituality. And again, as somebody who accepts Vatican II and who has studied Sacrosanctum Concilium several times, I can say I know what I'm talking about when we say that oftentimes the Mass that you see celebrated today, reflects nothing what the Council Fathers envisaged when they signed and approved that document over 60 years ago. They never envisaged the removal of Latin from the Mass. They never envisaged ad populum worship, tearing out altars. They never envisaged that we would have communion on the hand. They never envisaged half the stuff that we did, and then we're wondering, well, why don't people believe, and why are we lack of vocations? Why is the church struggling? I can understand Pope Francis's opinions on what he said, but I also want to give a message to the church, to our bishops, because I know you listen to me. Leadership plays a big role in the church. Leadership is a massive influence in the church, and you have to harness all different groups in the church in order to accomplish the church's mission. Okay, some groups are particularly focused on that. Okay, but then you bring them and you help them and you mentor them and you support them. Some groups are very, very involved in the social part of the church, social justice. And, this was what liberation theology was so focused on, the poor. And of course, Christ For Christ, the poor were, I mean, need I say more? But in order for his apostles and his disciples to accomplish what Christ was trying to do, first Christ had to transform them, to change the way they thought, the thinking. He had to form them, and in order for them to go out and to do his mission in the church. And so, the church has battled for the last 60 years. And there you have a video of a mass in Scotland, a traditional mass in Scotland. And nobody at that mass was alive when the changes of the mass happened 60 years ago. They're all under 50s, from what I can see in that video. J.P. Mallon, who probably did that video in Sancta Familia media in Scotland, he could probably say more about this. And it's not just that. Every year we see this growing Chartres pilgrimage in France. You have the Chartres pilgrimage, and you have, one group walking one way, and you have the Society of St. Pius XII walking the other way. You have a massively growing pilgrimage every year. And then our bishops and our cardinals and the Pope, no, is that happening? Never a message, never any encouragement. Yeah, you're there, but we don't know what to do with you. Why do you like this mass? This is the sad thing, and I hope the next Pope sees this, that you can play the strengths in the church, of the different groups, instead of saying to different groups. And then you wonder why are people acrimonious against the Pope? Why did just people stop even following or listening anything that he did? I mean, a couple of months ago, when the Pope released that encyclical on the Sacred Heart, I thought it was very beautiful, and I put it on my channel. I said I thought this document was very well done. And I got a lot of abuse for even praising something that the Pope did right, and there are some things that I do think he did correctly. But when it comes to the restrictions on the Latin Mass, this was done with no synodal consultation. To be clear, laity were not consulted. It's synodality for us, but not for thee. No consultation. This secret, secret ballot, secret questionnaire that was sent out before the synodal process. Well, why not do that synodality questionnaire as part of the synod and bring the discussion into the part of the synod? It seemed very, very heavy-handed. And again, the comments that come out, you're backward, you've got a nostalgic disease, and there are certain mental problems with people that are focused on this, and the comments that come out, and I said, wow, the traditional Latin Mass isn't too far off what you would see in a Greek Catholic Mass, and in a Greek Catholic divine service. To be clear, there's no banjos or guitars or ad-lib mass or this, or dressed down clerics, or dressed down chasubles, horrible, God knows what, destroyed architecture in the East, in the Greek. Nobody complains that their liturgy is they have nostalgic disease, or that they're backwarders, or that they're I don't know. In the Roman Catholic rite, we have ripped out the rite in the last 60 years, completely taken it out. I'm just relating this. I was at a mass today, and I saw an Apple computer on the altar during the mass that was, probably doing a live mass. And okay, I can understand this whole technological age, why you would have it there. But, guys, and even at that, the priest couldn't even say the consecration as translated in the missal. This drive for innovation. We have to be different. We have to break with what went before us. Okay, the Latin said this, and now we're going to say that. And then people say, "Oh, you're focusing on the details. Why are you focusing on the details? You're rigid. You're this. You're that." But then you have these protests propping up. Well, why are we closing this? And why are we closing that? And why is there masses downsizing? And why is there no vocations? And then laity kind of real. The laity need to wake up and understand what has happened in your church. And this is my message to the laity. We don't have a nostalgic disease, but we do think that the holy sacrifice of the Mass, that what Christ told his disciples to do in memory of him, is sacred and should be done with reverence, with respect. It shouldn't be like that priest in Czech Republic, having a pub mass, or that bishop getting installed in Brazil. Oh yeah, well sure, you're not even Catholic, come in here and can celebrate. Or like, what we see happening. And then we're scratching our heads. Like, why? What has the church become? Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. It's not bashing the Pope to bring this up at this moment of time, but it's to drive awareness when our next leader comes in. What will you do in the church? How will you unite the different strands in the church? I saw somebody put out a kind of it looks like a parliament of all the cardinals, and you have the conservatives and the liberals. It's like what you would see in a parliament in the States, Democrats blue and conservatives red and all. When did Christ invent that in the church? Did Christ leave behind apostles? Now, you're James, John, Peter, you're the conservatives, and Andrew and Bartholomew and Matthew, you're the liberals here. So you're going to kind of be I'm going to set you up. So when Peter is gone now, I want you to say, you be fighting. Like, guys, what happened? What happened in the church? What is the apostolic faith that Christ left behind? Christ left very simple instructions. This is my doctrine. This is my teaching. This is how I ask you to teach what is sin, so that you make disciples like I formed disciples. And he asked, this is quite simply what Christ asked us to do. I mean, we've made it so convoluted today, like you'd wonder what's going on. That the Mass developed over centuries. Yes, it developed, and we have new prayers, and the liturgy developed. And can it be changed? Of course it could be changed. I'm not against Vatican II, but there comes a time when we've changed it so much now that if you were to put the two Masses together, they bear no resemblance. They bear no resemblance. Simply as this is why one side hates the other, because it shows them up how far we've departed from that document in Vatican II. How far we departed. But I'd love to see some discussion. It never. This is why people hate Catholic bloggers that bring this up. Oh, you're this, you're rigid, you're anti this, you're anti that. What is the essence? What is the whole meaning of the church? The whole meaning of the faith is to bring you, is to transform you to union with God. In very simple terms, Christ wants you to stop acting in one way and to start living in another way. Simple as. This is his whole teaching. He wants you to transform you. He wants to unite with you. I was just reading today in Maria Valtorta, and Christ talks about the body and the soul being the altar, the spirit being the altar where Christ resides, and the body being the walls of the temple. It's in volume 8, about in the middle of volume 8 of Maria Valtorta's work. And how Christ is trying to teach his disciples to take care of your body, to not live in sin, in order to make your temple worthy where God can come and reside in you. In very simple terms, Christ taught this way. We don't teach like that today. We don't teach. The apostolic faith, this is why you have the great prophets of our time warning us. And Christ, when you go before God, I suppose Christ would say, well, I sent my prophets. You didn't want to listen to them. That's okay. It's okay. But, what is the apostolic, what is the purpose of the church? If we follow the purpose of the church, the world will be transformed. It's my thesis. It's my thesis, my working thesis, but I'd love to see some more. And again, it's not here to divide the church over liturgy. The purpose of the liturgy is to bring you to union with God. But if the liturgy, if what we're doing in the church is not bringing people to union with God, if religion is becoming a box-ticking exercise, a routine we do in a week, it makes no changes to our day-to-day life, what's the purpose? What's the purpose? Would we have 12,000 abortions on this island if we lived the faith? Isn't that a failure? Or 120,000 drug addicts daily taking cocaine, and God knows how many alcoholics. And families ruined with abuse and addictions. Do people see the gap that's there? And Christ is real. He wants to transform you. But, and again, just this is to drive you a discussion out there for the next leadership in the church that will be coming at some stage. Where will we go? Where is the church going? What is the mission of the church? How are you going to unite the different sides? Or are we just going to have this deepening rift? God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.